In 1996, Mike was 25 years old. He earned $55,000 a year as an electrical engineer in Dallas. His household lived on that one salary. And he was about to buy a three-bedroom house with roughly 2,000 square feet, a backyard, and a two-car garage. The price was $140,000. There was just one problem. Mike's mortgage rate was nearly 8%, and somehow the numbers still worked. Now move the same person forward exactly 30 years. Give him the same kind of career, the same city, and the same goal. Could a 25-year-old Mike buy the equivalent house in 2026 while supporting his household on one salary? To answer that fairly, we can't just compare two home prices. We need to rebuild both purchases from the ground up: salary, down payment, mortgage, taxes, insurance, and the amount of income left after the house gets paid. Mike is an illustrative buyer, not a hidden historical person. But the world around him is built from real Dallas wage, mortgage, inflation, and housing data. And the first surprise is that his salary is realistic. According to a Bureau of Labor Statistics wage survey from December 1996, electrical and electronic engineers in Dallas-Fort Worth earned a median salary of about $54,600. Computer systems analysts earned almost exactly the same amount. So Mike's $55,000 salary isn't fantasy, but it does need context. He is doing very well for 25. He has a professional technical job, steady income, and little consumer debt. He isn't meant to represent every young worker in 1996. His house isn't the average Dallas house either. At $140,000, it is a desirable, above-median home for the period. The kind of place with enough room to imagine staying for a while. Not a mansion, but not the cheapest starter home Mike could find. Mike puts 10% down. That's $14,000. Maybe he saved while living with family. Maybe he worked through college and avoided a car loan. Maybe part of the money came from a wedding gift. The exact path is an assumption, but the cash cannot disappear from the story. $14,000 was a serious obstacle for a 25-year-old. After the down payment, Mike borrows $126,000. At the average 1996 mortgage rate of 7.81%, his principal and interest payment is about $908 a month. Then we add the costs that disappear from most nostalgic comparisons. Using a consistent Dallas property tax assumption, taxes add roughly $260 a month. Homeowners insurance adds an estimated $50. Because Mike put down less than 20%, we will also include about $63 for private mortgage insurance. His complete modeled housing payment comes to approximately $1,281 a month. Mike earns about $4,583 a month before taxes. That means the house consumes just under 28% of his gross income. That is the first real answer. Even with a mortgage rate close to 8%, a substantial Dallas home could plausibly fit one professional salary. Not because borrowing was cheap, it wasn't. The purchase worked because the amount Mike borrowed was restrained relative to what his job paid. If this was helpful, subscribe for more practical videos about personal and family finance, and send this one to someone who might find it useful too. But before we turn 1996 into a lost financial paradise, look at what Mike's example does not prove. It does not prove that every 25-year-old could buy this house. Mike earns the median salary for an established engineering occupation, but reaching that level at 25 would make him a strong young performer. He also needs $14,000 in cash, closing costs, a stable job, and a clean enough financial profile to get approved. And our payment does not include maintenance. A roof, air conditioner, plumbing leak, or foundation problem would still be Mike's responsibility. So the fair conclusion is not that buying a house in 1996 was effortless. It is that a young person who entered a well-paid profession and cleared the down payment hurdle could make a one-income purchase work without requiring an extraordinary salary. Now we need to construct the 2026 version of Mike without rigging the comparison. If we gave modern Mike the median income for all workers, we would be comparing different people. If we moved him to San Francisco or New York, we would be comparing different markets. And if we gave him a small condo while old Mike received 3 bedrooms, a garage, and a backyard, we would be comparing different lives. So modern Mike stays in Dallas and remains an engineer. The Consumer Price Index gives us one way to translate his old salary. Prices in mid-2026 are a little more than twice their 1996 level. On that basis, $55,000 then has buying power of approximately $117,000 now. That number also passes a reality check. The newest Bureau of Labor Statistics release for Dallas reports average pay of roughly $107,000 across architecture and engineering occupations, while computer and mathematical occupations average closer to $120,000. So we will pay Modern Mike $117,000. Again, that is a strong income for 25. We are giving him the benefit of a successful professional start, just as we did in 1996. His nominal salary has more than doubled. Now price the house. The Federal Housing Finance Agency maintains a house price index for Dallas County. From 1996 through the newest annual reading, that index increased by a factor of about 3.89. Apply that movement to Mike's $140,000 home, and the equivalent value lands near $545,000. That is not the typical Dallas home. Zillow's Tune 2026 market report puts the typical metro value closer to $365,000. But Mike did not buy the typical house in our 1996 story. He bought a desirable three-bedroom property above the local median. Using the price index lets us hold the quality of the opportunity more nearly constant. And now the imbalance appears. Mike's equivalent salary increased by about 2.13 times. His house increased by about 3.89 times. In 1996, the home cost approximately 2.5 years of Mike's gross salary. In 2026, it costs about 4 2/3 years. But price to income is only the first warning. The monthly payment is where the story becomes personal. Let Modern Mike put 10% down, just like his 1996 counterpart. He now needs $54,500 before closing costs. The same percentage requires $40,500 more cash. His mortgage balance is $490,500. Here, Modern Mike seems to receive one advantage. Freddie Mac's latest weekly average for a 30-year fixed mortgage is 6.67%. That is lower than Mike's 7.81% rate in 1996. But a lower rate applied to a much larger balance is still a much larger payment. Principal and interest come to about $3,155 a month. Now add Dallas property taxes. Using the current combined local rate before property-specific exemptions, the simple estimate is about $1,011 a month. Then add insurance. The Texas Department of Insurance reports a preliminary statewide average homeowners premium of $3,506 a year, or about $292 a month. Finally, add estimated mortgage insurance of roughly $245 because Mike put down 10%. The complete modeled housing cost is approximately $4,704 a month. And here is the comparison that changes the way the whole story looks. Modern property taxes and insurance alone total about $1,304 a month. That is more than old Mike's entire principal and interest payment. And this comparison is actually conservative in one important way. We have not added a maintenance reserve to either period. If both owners set aside even 1% of the home's value each year, old Mike would reserve about $117 a month. Modern Mike would reserve about $454. The same roof does not become 4 times larger, but labor, materials, systems, and the value at risk all make ownership costs harder to ignore. Leaving maintenance out keeps our mortgage comparison clean. It does not make the modern household safer. Modern Mike earns $9,750 a month before taxes. His housing expense consumes roughly 48% of that gross income. That is before maintenance, utilities, food, transportation, health coverage, retirement saving, or any student loan and car payments. A lender might evaluate his complete application differently depending on his debts, assets, credit, and loan program. But as a one-income household plan, 48% is not remotely comparable with the old 28% result. Perhaps the problem is the small down payment. So give Modern Mike 20% down. He now arrives with $109,000 in cash before closing costs. Private mortgage insurance disappears, and the mortgage balance falls to $436,000. His principal and interest payment drops to about $2,805. Add the same estimated taxes and insurance, and total housing cost falls to approximately $4,108 a month. That is better, but it still consumes about 42% of his $117,000 salary. The 20% down payment reveals something important. Home affordability has two separate gates. The first is cash to close. Can Mike accumulate $54,500 or $109,000 while paying rent and living his life? The second is recurring affordability. After bringing all that cash, does his salary comfortably support the payment every month? In 2026, solving the first problem does not automatically solve the second. So what income would make the purchase resemble the old one? Using 28% of gross income as a consistent comparison benchmark, the 10% down version needs an annual salary of about $202,000. With 20% down, it still needs approximately $176,000. Those are not universal legal cutoffs, and they are not predictions of what every lender would approve. They are planning benchmarks that let us compare the two households on equal terms, and they show the scale of the change. Inflation equivalent Mike earns about $117,000. To carry the equivalent house at the old income ratio, he needs roughly $59,000 to $85,000 more income, depending on the down payment. Could a 25-year-old buy a house in Dallas in 2026? Yes, some can. A smaller house, a less expensive neighborhood, a larger gift, two incomes, a veteran's loan, or an unusually high salary can all change the result. But that is not the question we started with. We asked whether the same kind of successful young professional in the same city could buy the equivalent home and support the household on one salary. Under these assumptions, the answer is no. Not comfortably, and not at anything close to the same financial margin. That does not mean 1996 was easy. Mike still needed a good career, disciplined saving, and a willingness to borrow at nearly 8%. It does mean the reward for clearing those hurdles was different. His professional salary could reach a substantial home without consuming most of the household's income. The practical lesson is to stop judging affordability by one number. The interest rate matters, but so does the loan balance. The down payment matters, but so does the payment after the down payment is gone. The salary matters, but only in relation to the house and every carrying cost attached to it. When you compare your opportunity with an earlier generation, ask three questions. How many years of income does the home cost? How much cash is required to reach the closing table? And after the complete housing payment is made, how much room remains for the rest of your life? Because the real measure of affordability is not whether the lender says yes, it is how much life remains after the house says yes. How old were you or your parents when you bought a first home? And roughly how many times the household's annual income did it cost?